What do you make of the fact that the Democrat Party, I mean, we're talking about the biggest city in America, the biggest financial center in the world, and they're about to hand it over to a Marxist, Islamist, anti-Semite, and I don't see a lot of opposition coming out of the leadership of the Democrat Party in that building. Do you?
It is completely true, Mark. This is not your parents' Democratic Party, and we keep reminding everyone of that. There is a wide chasm now between the Republican Party, which stands for America's core principles and the things that made America great, and the Democratic Party now that is moving further and further to the radical, woke, progressive left. They're embracing, as you said earlier, Marxism. They're running candidates who are avowed Marxists, socialists, communists for public office, some of the highest offices in the land, and it's alarming to us. The contrast here is so clear, and the lack of vision that they have equally clear. There's no platform, no principle, nothing they can run on. They don't have a strong leadership here. They have no one to pull them back to the center, to common sense. And so we just stand here and present the truth. As I said on the floor on the eve right before the vote on the big, beautiful bill, look, there's two parties here. One is into performance art, and the other party is here delivering results. And I am so happy and very bullish about the upcoming midterm election in 2026, because we will be able to go out to the people and show all this, demonstrate it, illustrate very clearly that there really is only one choice if you care about the future of the country. And we will be presenting that with bold colors, as our hero Ronald Reagan used to say.
And you're trying to address this. I mean, this big, beautiful bill. You've got school choice in there because the teachers' unions have a hold on education in this country, and that's where it starts. In kindergarten right up, and we see the ideology. You're grabbing a hold of government TV and government radio. We have plenty of television stations and radio stations. We don't need government TV and government radio subsidized by the taxpayer, particularly when they're pushing this very agenda. You're trying to get a hold of the borders. You're trying to secure our immigration system. You're trying to deport people who are trying to destroy our country and so forth and so on. So the Republican Party, with the president, with you as Speaker, with John Thune as the leader in the Senate, you're actually trying to do things about this. But you are up against a fierce opponent, fierce opposition, and same with their courts. I fear greatly. We can't win every election. I fear greatly, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 12 years from now, if they take one chamber or they take the presidency, that they will try to unravel everything that we're doing here. And it's kind of hard to stop them, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, everything is on the line in the midterm election in 2026 is why I keep highlighting the importance of that, because remember, there's only twice in 90 years that a sitting president has picked up seats for his party in the House, for example, in that first 2-year cycle after he's elected. But we must do it. We must defy history and do that this time, because if the Democrats, the radical, woke, progressive, Marxist Democrats, were able to take the majority in the House of Representatives, they would impeach President Trump on the first day of that Congress. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Early January of 2027, and it would descend again into chaos. They abuse their power as they did in the last time. We will resort again to lawfare and all the abuses. It will be a disaster for the country. And so this is about much more than politics. It's about the founding principles of the country and preserving the very foundations that made us who we are. We believe in our party in the simple truths, right? The foundational principles: individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, human dignity. These are the things that are on the ballot. It's not just between dueling candidates. It's between the principles and the platforms that they present and represent. We're going out doing candidate recruitment right now, Mark. I'm really, really bullish about the upcoming cycle, because I know we're going to have great people who are going to be able to go out and articulate this, and again, demonstrate to the American people what the first 2 years of the Trump administration have yielded. As you said at the opening there, we've had the most productive first 6 months of any Congress, any administration, I think, in history, maybe back to the American Revolution, and we're going to continue and do that all the way through the election cycle.
We have a lot to run on, and you have a lot to run against, given the other party. But I will tell you this: we better be united, we better be strong, we better be focused, we better be articulate. We can't waste our time on Epstein and other stuff that are going on here that some people want us to focus on. I've about had it with all that stuff. We better focus on who we are, what we're doing, where we want to take the country, and what they want to do to the country. Mr. Speaker, God bless you, my friend. I appreciate you very, very much.
You too, Mark. Thanks for all you do. God bless.
Everything changes everything. Late Baltimore Orioles Hall of Fame manager Earl Weaver. Determining the political landscape for next year's midterm elections may prove to be impossible, at least right now. Midterms have become increasingly challenging to decipher in recent cycles. A learned Democratic Capitol Hill hand told me after the historic 63-seat bloodletting by House Democrats in 2010 that the election was unmodelable.
I think the Democrats are hemorrhaging voters because they've chosen all the wrong constituencies. They seem to care more about illegal aliens than American citizens, violent criminals than law-abiding citizens, and the Palestinian flag more than the American flag.
That is not true, and that is
when you take those positions on things like that, people tend to run to the other party.
Well, the data now showing that Democratic voter registration is down by a lot, but somehow the party loyalists may be extremely motivated compared to Republicans. Let's bring in pollster and political analyst Frank Luntz. Frank, it's great to have you on the show. So the New York Times writes the following here, quoting, "The stampede away from the Democratic Party is occurring in battleground states, the bluest states and the reddest states, too. Fewer and fewer Americans are choosing to be Democrats. In fact, for the first time since 2018, more new voters nationwide chose to be Republicans than Democrats last year." But Frank Luntz, a man we know well in this show, is citing a CNN poll when he posted this on X. 72% of Democratic voters say they are extremely motivated to vote in next year's midterm elections. That's 22 points above Republicans voters. I mean, which is it, Frank? Are they flocking or fleeing?
It's both. And it's fascinating. As someone who's been studying this now for 35 years, I look for opportunities to really understand what the American people think and what they're likely to do. Make no mistake, all across the country, Northeast, Southwest, and everything in between, are choosing the Republican Party to register. That's indicating their point of view about what's happening right now and over the last few months and the last couple of years. But in terms of intensity, in terms of paying attention to what's going on in Washington, and in terms of likelihood to participate, Democrats can't wait to vote. And this is not a surprise, Trace, because in the last 60 years, in almost every off-year election, the party that's out of power actually gets more votes. The party that's out of power, people are angrier about what's happening than those who are happy and want to register their support for the occurrences that are happening. So,
go ahead.
You're correct that numerically the Republican Party is benefiting, and it really is from coast to coast. But among those people who are registered, the Democrats can't wait to vote, and they want to get their voices heard.
I wanted to get this in quickly, Frank, if I can, because I was interested to hear Chris Cuomo talk about his family and this. Watch.
My brother's a Democrat. I don't know why, but he is. My father was a Democrat. I know exactly why he was, but his party doesn't exist anymore. Now it's the left arguing for a cultural elite. No Democrat would have argued for open borders. You know, none of this. My father would have done none of this.
I mean, what he's saying is true. Like Bill Clinton is literally, he supports the Democratic Party, but it's not his party anymore, Frank.
And we see this all across the country again, that Democrats don't want tax increases, that Democrats do believe that there should be cuts in governmental spending, that Democrats do believe that there should be work requirements, but that's not what they're hearing from the Democratic Party. And once again, the leadership from Chuck Schumer on down is misunderstanding, misinterpreting, and is going to be very surprised when they don't get control of the Senate, even though history says that they're more likely to do well, because in the end, the leading Democrats are not where the majority of the American people are, and there's going to be a big wake-up call 18 months from now.
Frank Luntz, great analysis as always. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you.
Midterms are usually a problem for the party of the president. That said, Democrats only lost a few House seats in 1962, immediately following the Cuban Missile Crisis, which nearly brought the U.S. and Soviet Union to nuclear blows. Democrats lost a staggering 47 House seats in 1966, the first and only midterm of late President Lyndon Johnson. But the electoral rapture barely dented the robust House majority. Democrats controlled 295 House seats before the 1966 midterms, 248 seats afterwards, still a comfortable margin. very few political observers expected Democrats to lose control of the House in the legendary 1994 midterms, mainly because the party held the House for 40 consecutive years. It was nearly unthinkable that Democrats could lose the House simply because it had not happened in decades. Democrats and other political observers excoriated the brilliant Michael Barone, when he was the lone commentator, to forecast that a Republican flip of the House could be in the offing come the fall of 1994. Barone was right, as Republicans collected 54 seats. Republicans nearly lost control of the House in the 1998 midterms after they impeached former President Clinton. Republicans then bested the historic norms in 2002 and held the House, boosted by pro-GOP sentiment following 9/11. Democrats managed to win back the House in 2018, following a similar playbook they deployed in 2006 when they also captured control of the House. Democrats ran a number of moderate ex-military or national security Democrats, often in battleground districts. The relative unpopularity of President Donald Trump didn't help Republicans either. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, R. California, and former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, R. Georgia, boasted that Republicans may capture anywhere from 40 to 60 seats in the 2022 midterms. Republicans did win the House, but barely. Which brings us to 2026. The party of the president historically loses around 25 seats in their first midterm. Since President Trump is only the second commander-in-chief to return to office after a hiatus, late President Grover Cleveland was the first, 2026 serves as a de facto first midterm. Trump and the Republicans lost 41 House seats in 2018, his true first midterm, but calculating what to expect next year is nearly impossible. Republicans now hold a 219 to 212 majority in the House with 4 vacancies. 3 of those seats are solidly Democratic for now. So for the sake of argument, let's say the breakdown is 220 to 215. Democrats must only flip a net of 3 seats to claim the majority. It's not that easy. First off, we barely understand the 2026 playing field. In baseball, it's 90 feet between the bases, 60 feet, 6 inches to the pitcher's mound. Major League Baseball even standardized the size of the dirt infield a couple of years ago. As we head to the playoffs, we know the Milwaukee Brewers and Detroit Tigers are excellent. The New York Mets and New York Yankees should be really good, but they've stumbled. The Philadelphia Phillies are excellent, but just lost starting pitcher Zach Wheeler to a major injury. Who could surprise down the stretch? The Cincinnati Reds and Kansas City Royals are hardly out of it. Everyone understands the general variables of Major League Baseball as October nears. That is not the case with the 2026 midterms. Texas Republicans are now determined to redraw congressional districts to favor a GOP pickup of 5 seats. President Trump has endorsed similar efforts to tilt the field in favor of Republicans in GOP strongholds like Missouri, Ohio, and Indiana. California Governor Gavin Newsom is threatening to upend the present maps in favor of Democrats in the Golden State. New York Democrats may try the same in the Empire State. So, we don't even know the basics. How far from the plate to the mound in the 2026 midterms? How large is the strike zone? 5 balls for a walk or the standard 4? 12 players in the field or 9?
Meanwhile, in California, Governor Newsom's redistricting plan will go to voters in November. The state legislature approved his proposal for a new map on Thursday. The play is a counter to President Trump, who is backing the new Texas map. Let's bring in California Republican Congressman Tom McClintock. Tom, what do you think of the new map?
Well, I don't like any of this nonsense, either in Texas or California. The difference is Texas allows this kind of abuse, but Californians have been protected from it by our independent commission. That's what Newsom's trying to bypass. Remember, the California Commission held 196 public meetings. It received more than 30,000 written communications over a period of 9 months. They listened to every constituency and every community in the state. They drafted a consensus plan in public. This Gavin Mander was drafted behind closed doors in a matter of days.
Well, I want to put up something that Gavin Newsom posted on Twitter. And in it, he says, it's direct democracy that gives us a fighting chance to stop Donald Trump's election rigging. He says this is a very democratic thing he's doing, trying to override the state elections board. Your response? Well,
it's a ludicrous statement. The entire plan was drawn behind closed doors. The only reason the public gets to see the maps at all is that a vote's required to bypass the commission and adopt them. And I think that this is going to end up being a huge headache for Newsom, because he's going to have to justify to many small towns like Lodi why they're being split into 3 congressional districts. And he's going to have to explain to people in rural towns like Alturas, whose congressman is going to be chosen by voters 300 miles away in Marin County. So I don't think that the Democrats are going to succeed with this. Remember, they already tried to abolish this commission in 2010 with Prop 27. Voters rejected that 60-40. I think most Americans, whatever their political views are, have an innate sense of fairness, and I think that's going to be decisive on November 4th when they go to vote.
So you don't necessarily think these new maps that the governor proposes, you don't necessarily think they're going to pass?
No, already liberal good government groups like the League of Women Voters are opposing it. A Common Cause initially opposed it and then withdrew its opposition under pressure. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who has impeccable credentials among independent voters, is campaigning against it. And also, I think Californians are tiring of Gavin Newsom. So I think he's bitten off far more than he can chew.
Well, he's rumored to want to run for president. You think this is part of his launching pad?
I'm sure that's how he's getting attention, but I think when all of this plays out, it's going to be the wrong kind of attention. I think people are going to get a clear measure of the political partisanship of this man, and also the story. Californians are leaving in droves now because of the policies that he's enacted and stood behind.
Yeah, and it's not just California residents; it's California businesses. I want to put up a statement from Marcus Lemonis, who is the head of Bed Bath & Beyond. He says, "We will not open retail stores in California. This isn't about politics. It's about reality. California's system makes it nearly impossible for businesses to succeed, and I won't put our company, our employees, or our customers in that position." And then he goes on to write, "California has created one of the most overregulated, expensive, and risky environments for business in America." Well, you're a California representative. How do you respond?
Well, he's right. I mean, and he's not alone. Iconic California companies like Oracle and Charles Schwab and Hewlett Packard, Tesla, In-N-Out, they've all moved out of California. Chevron celebrated its 145th year in California by announcing it was moving to Texas. California was Bed Bath & Beyond's biggest market. They had 90 stores here. There's one just down the street from where I'm sitting right now. They're announcing plans to open 300 stores now across the country, but not one in California. And this is precisely the point and why I think it's related to the whole redistricting question. Wherever leftist policy takes hold, you see the quality of life decline. Ultimately, families and businesses vote with their feet and leave. That's what's been happening in California. In the last decade, about 2.5 million more people have moved out of California than have moved in. So California is forget about redistricting. California is likely to lose 5 congressional seats in the next census just because Californians are fleeing to Republican states like Texas, which is likely to pick up 5 seats.
Wow. Congressman Tom McClintock, a Republican from California. Thank you.
Redistricting could also hamper Republicans, forcing the party to suddenly defend a number of more competitive seats. Democrats could suddenly have more opportunities where none existed in 2024. But we aren't sure. Maybe everything is status quo and Democrats only need to flip those 3 seats. We also don't know how the relative unpopularity of President Trump may impact voters. He historically defies political gravity. Plus, the Democratic brand remains utterly toxic. Party registration is down for the Democrats, big time. That said, could Republicans reap the benefits of passing the hallmark of their legislative agenda, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act? Some conservatives doubt that the GOP has sufficiently sold the public on that legislation, especially during the August recess. Democrats are banking on the possibility that the legislation will backfire on the GOP in next year's midterms. We also don't know if President Trump not being on the ballot in 2026 is similar to the Republican midterm performance in 2018. It's clear that not having Mr. Trump on the ballot in 2018 undercut the party at the polls. Republicans could also face a backlash from moderates and swing voters if they are dissatisfied with the performance of the president. We certainly saw that after voters tired of the policies of former presidents George H.W. Bush in 1990, Bill Clinton in 1994, George W. Bush in 2006, and Barack Obama in 2010.
Well, this evening we take a look at the messaging war between Republicans and Democrats, not here in Washington, but in their home districts and states. While the lawmakers are on recess, they find themselves either defending or condemning the passage of the president's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Senior national correspondent Aisha Hasni shows us tonight.
Tonight, Democrats are fanning out across the country, ripping apart President Trump's agenda in hopes of slowing down any GOP momentum ahead of the midterms. Axios reports Senate Democrats held more than 100 events railing against Republican policies in the first week of their summer recess. Progressive Senator Bernie Sanders even rallying in deep red states, appealing to the working class by attacking Trump's Big Beautiful Bill.
This bill is the worst and most dangerous piece of legislation passed in the modern history of America.
Democrats are trying to take advantage of recent polling that shows more than half the country opposes Trump's package and jumping on chaotic moments like when GOP Congressman Doug LaMalfa was booed at a California town hall last night.
It doesn't pass the smell test. And if I was a Republican, I would probably be hiding in my basement as well.
The House Republicans' campaign arm hasn't changed its guidance for members to avoid in-person town halls, rather recommending they travel their districts and meet with voters at events focused on selling the legislation. The White House also deploying cabinet secretaries to ease voters' concerns, while some Senate Republicans hit the road to tout tax cuts and border security.
The Big Beautiful Bill has over $1 billion for this program.
And tonight, the Senate Republican campaign arm is also responding to these attacks from Democrats, saying that the Democrats voted to raise taxes, while Senate Republicans, along President Trump, cut taxes on tips and overtime, protected women's sports, and secured our border. That is a midterm contrast we'll take any day, they say. They're feeling very confident. Long way from the midterms.
Long way to go. This is a battle that'll continue.
Yes.
Aisha, thanks.
Good to see you.
And we have an entire 15 months before voters head to the polls next year. There could be another foreign policy crisis involving the Middle East. Tensions with Russia over Ukraine are volatile. There are a host of potential events, ranging from health policy to the economy, which could set the table for the midterms. Lots to consider. It's all in play. Everything changes everything, observed the sage Earl Weaver. Or perhaps we should turn to New York Yankees legend Yogi Berra. In baseball, you don't know nothing.